Hey, hi Lucas, hi Julie. Mimi has a new book to read. I don't know if we ever read this one when you were here. It's called The Biggest Shadow in the Zoo, and it's about an elephant. So I thought you might like to hear this one today. The Biggest Shadow in the Zoo. The page is turned here. Goober was an elephant who lived at the zoo. Goober was very special. At least he thought so. All the other animals lived in cages or behind bars. Goober lived on an island with a moat all around it. See that? But that wasn't why Goober thought he was special. There was a bridge over the moat with a sign on it, and the sign said, "Elephant rides, 10 cents. Twice a day, in the morning and the afternoon, a box was strapped onto Goober's back. Children sat in the box, and Goober gave them a ride. The children loved Goober and fed him peanuts. But that wasn't why Goober thought he was special. From his island, Goober could see most of the other animals. They were all sizes, big and small, and in between. And they were all shapes, fat and thin, and some very strange. Goober noticed that each animal had a shadow, and the shadow was big or small or fat or thin, just like the animal. Goober noticed something else. His shadow was the biggest shadow in the zoo, and that was the reason Goober thought he was special. Goober was very fond of his shadow, and his shadow seemed fond of Goober. They were always together. They were very good friends. One day, Goober was catching peanuts that the children were throwing to him. His shadow was with him, as usual. When Goober swung his trunk to catch a peanut, his shadow swung its trunk and pretended to catch one too. Goober forgot to watch where he was going and got so close to the moat that he almost fell in. His shadow did fall in. When Goober leaned over the edge of the moat, he could see his shadow down on the bottom. Goober was quite upset. He was afraid his shadow got hurt in the fall. Goober stood very still and watched his shadow for several minutes. It didn't move. "It's dead," thought Goober. "But how could such a little fall kill it? My shadow is tough. I've stepped on it lots of times and I didn't hurt it. I don't understand." And he shook his head. The shadow shook its head too. It was all right. Goober felt much better. But his shadow was still at the bottom of the moat, and Goober couldn't get it out. Soon it was time for the afternoon elephant ride. Goober's trainers strapped his box onto his back. "Come on, Goober," they said. But Goober didn't move. He and his shadow had always been together. Goober could not leave it now, not when it was in trouble. The trainers pushed and pulled. They scolded and coaxed, but Goober refused to budge. So they unstrapped the box and told the children there wouldn't be any elephant rides today because Goober wasn't feeling well. The animal doctor came, but he couldn't find anything wrong with Goober. "It's probably just something he ate," said the doctor. "I'll check him again in the morning." Night came. Goober couldn't see his shadow anymore, but he stayed to keep it company. Rain started to fall, and there was a flash of lightning. By its light, Goober could see that his shadow was still there. He saw something else, too. The water in the moat was getting deeper. Goober didn't know if his shadow could swim. Goober worried and wished the night would end. The rain stopped by morning, but thick clouds hid the sun. Goober looked over the edge of the moat. The water was almost to the top, and Goober's shadow was nowhere to be seen. "It drowned," thought Goober. "I'll never see it again." Goober walked slowly and sadly toward the elephant house. He looked back. hoping to see his shadow, but it wasn't there. He felt like crying. Goober went inside his dark house. He wanted to be left alone, so he tried to hide in the corner. "Feeling better this morning?" said a voice. It was the doctor. The doctor lit a lantern so he could see Goober, and Goober saw something that made his heart leap with joy. There in the corner, the very corner that Goober was facing, was his shadow, as big as ever. Being in the water all night hadn't even shrunk it. Goober didn't know how long his shadow had been in the elephant house or how it got there, but it didn't matter. They were together again, and that was the most important thing. "Well, well," said the doctor. "I don't know what the trouble was, but there's nothing wrong with you now." He gave Goober a pat, turned off the lantern, and went to check on the other animals. Without the light from the lantern, Goober couldn't see his shadow anymore, but he knew it was there, safe and sound. Goober was very happy. He ate a good breakfast, had a nice nap. It had been a long night. When it was time for the elephant ride in the morning, Goober's trainers let him outside, strapped on his box. The clouds had gone away and the sun was shining brightly. Goober looked at his shadow and smiled happily. The children got their dime's worth. Goober gave them an extra long ride because he felt so good. And he was very, very careful not to go anywhere near that moat. And his shadow always stayed close by. That's funny, isn't it? He thought his shadow could somehow fall into the moat. Do you think it would be fun to get an elephant ride at the zoo? I don't know if they do that anymore, but I think that would be kind of cool. I know sometimes they let you feed some animals, so maybe the next time we go to the zoo, we'll get to do that, okay? All right, I love you guys. I'll pick another book and read it soon. Bye-bye.